Hey, welcome back to the Vikings Central podcast. It's a week 12 Vikings pregame show. Vikings are heading to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers this week, and we got a good show for you. I got a special guest with me today that's been here before, back when we played the Eagles, and that's none other than Coach Josh Jones. Now, Coach Josh Jones, right now, currently, he's the San Antonio Brahmas defensive backs coach. They are looking for a new location, which he'll talk a little bit about that, but he's done a minority internship with the Green Bay Packers back this spring, so he's got some familiarity with our foe this week, and he's a former coach at the Citadel, Northwestern State, Arkansas Pine Bluffs, South Alabama, Central Arkansas, and Henderson State. He's a former All-American defensive back at Minnesota State University Moorhead and Harding University. So he played professionally in the Arena League with the Utah Blaze and the Green Bay Blizzard in the Indoor Football League as well. And hey, you know, Coach Jones, as you can see just from his resume, he's got a lot of coaching experience. He's got some playing experience as well too, and we're more than happy to have him as a guest on the show. And without further ado, I want to welcome Coach Josh Jones to the show. Coach, how are we
What?
doing?
Good, man. How you doing, Luke?
Doing great. So, Coach, we had you on last time versus the Eagles. We didn't have a good turnout. I'm hoping you're a better good luck charm for us this time than you were last time. But I'm glad to have you on. Now, for everyone else that's following us on X, YouTube, Facebook, please make sure that you follow, subscribe, support us. And at the same time, please make sure that you send any comments or questions that you have for myself or Coach Jones. Make sure that you send them in the comments. We'll go ahead and we'll answer them live as best as we possibly can. We have a good show for you today. We're not only going to talk about the matchup. Coach Jones and I are actually going to break down some film as well too. Coach Jones and I have been collaborating on some film that we're going to go over for this Vikings Packers matchup. And Coach Jones, do you want to talk a little bit again about your experience for those that don't know you and just want to know a little bit about Coach Jones?
Yeah, man. So like you said, I've coached a lot of different places. I'm going into, excuse me, about I think year 13 coaching, just about. Started in 2013. Actually spent some time up that way, like you mentioned, at Minnesota State Moorhead. Um, played there for 4 years, transferred, went to school in Harding. And then once I got done, you know, tried the NFL route. Didn't work out, ended up getting into coaching, and man, it's been awesome. I've coached all the way from Division 2 up to FCS, FBS, and now I'm coaching professionally. I had a chance to coach under Wade Phillips, who is a future Hall of Famer in himself. And so just having those opportunities to be able to be a part of that and continue to grow and do stuff like this in the off season, which is awesome. Be able to watch ball throughout the fall, and watch every game and get on podcasts like this and talk ball, man. This is awesome.
Now, for those of you that don't know as well, Coach Jones also breaks down some film as well on his social media. And if you want to go ahead and follow him, here's his social media that you can follow him. I'm going to get rid of the ticker here. On X, you can follow him at Coach Josh Jones 1, on Instagram at underscore Coach uh, J Jones, and at TikTok you can do at Just Talking Ball. He does some great breakdowns, especially being he's a defensive backs coach dealing with defensive backs in the secondary. So go ahead, take a picture if you need to, and we'll go ahead and we'll bring this up throughout the show or at the end of the show for sure. Before we leave, make sure that you give him a follow as well. And if you're an aspiring, or if you have a kid that's an aspiring defensive back, go ahead and watch some of the videos that Coach Jones has that he's breaking down on his social media. Now, Coach Jones, before we get into this matchup, we do want to take a look at what we have coming up on the schedule. Now, for the schedule for the Vikings, of course, we got the Packers this Sunday. We don't have very many games left. We have 7 games. 2 are against the Packers, who we face this weekend. And, we really need, it was a must win situation for us last week. We lost 19-17, a game that I don't know. You could say that we shouldn't have won, but then we should have won at the same time. We
Right.
got that late touchdown from JJ McCarthy. And then, of course, special teams coughs up with 50 seconds left, a 56-yard return. They run three straight running plays and kick a game-winning field goal at the end of the game, and we lose 19-17. So now we are definitely in a must-win situation again, where if we want to make the playoffs at 4-6, we have to either A, run the table, or we can only drop one the rest of the way. So this is for sure a must-win. So we face the Packers this weekend, then we go to the Seahawks, we get a home game against the Commanders, we go to the Cowboys, we go to the Giants, we get another home game against the Lions again. Can we beat them again? That's maybe the toughest game remaining on our schedules. I think, even though it's a home game, is that one against the Lions or the road game against the Seahawks are probably the two toughest games I would say maybe on the schedule. Um, that this one this weekend, is also a really tough game because of the defense that the Packers have. And we'll be talking about that. And then, of course, we don't know what date yet, but we'll end the season with a home game versus the Green Bay Packers. So with that being the schedule, I mean, it's tough. What's a mentality, if in a locker room when
Mhm.
you're in a must-win situation like that, and you almost virtually have to run the table? What's that
Yeah,
like?
I mean, you look at that schedule, it's loaded, and it's real backloaded. Really, the easiest game, so to speak, on that schedule is
Sure.
probably New York, right?
Right.
And the Commanders, those are the two. But you go to play a Cowboys team whose offensively is probably the best offense in the NFL. They're not great defensively, but they've done a little bit better coming off the bye week. But you got a gauntlet. And I think the mentality is at the end of the day, it's guys, it's win or go home at this point. You are essentially you're in playoff mode. You have to be. You can't drop a game, because really you're relying on yourself winning, and also you need the Packers to drop a couple, you need the
Mhm.
Bears to drop a couple, you need the Lions. Like right now, the NFC North is so compacted where you really don't know who's going to come out on top of it when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. And Vikings fans, I mean, when we look at, even just the Dallas Cowboys, yes, for much of the season, they were an easy get, uh, at least on their defensive side of the ball.
Right.
But now they've added Quinnen Williams, they've added
Hmm.
Logan Wilson, so they've added at least two really good defensive players to that defense that have made a little bit of an impact that we've saw even just last week.
Right.
So that game now becomes a little bit more difficult than it was even previously taking a look at it. So, again, this week we got the Packers, we go to Lambeau Field. It's going to be that tough environment where, of course, neither team likes each other. And whether or not Green Bay wants to admit it, we are their true rival. I don't care what you want to call it. Maybe this year you could say the Chicago Bears because of their record, but these two teams do not like each other. The fans between the two borders do not like each other. So this absolutely is going to be a beat 'em down physical type of game, and I don't think it's something that you can rule out. Where I know all the experts, wherever you look, for the most part, everyone's picking the Packers in this game. We've been picked against before when we faced the Lions, and we were able to go into Detroit and get a win. There's no reason to think that we are not able to do the same, at least
Mhm.
if we have some better quarterback play and we are better in the take give. So it's definitely possible to do. Now, when we take a look at some other things in this matchup between the two teams, we take a look at the tail of the tape. Green Bay Packers come in 6-3-1. They do have that one tie that they had earlier in the season, but overall, PFF stat wise, they're the fourth best team in the league stat wise. Offensively, they're 10th in the league, fifth in the league on defense, and we'll talk more about that. But special teams, they're 27th. Now, when you take a look at the Vikings, and it seems like we've continuously kind of fell down on this, but we have a record of 4-6 now coming into the game. We're 25th in a lot of these stats. We're 28th in on the offensive side of the ball, 25th in the defense, and first in the special teams. Now, you can't put everything into these stats. Defensively, our defense has been keeping us in games to where we can win. And our offense has, consistently been putting our defense in bad spots with turnovers by not winning the turnover battle. And last week we threw a couple picks. Should have been 3 picks. Last week one was dropped. So we can't do things like that put us in bad situations. Special teams were first, even though we had a kickoff return that uh we had a holding penalty that got taken away, and we're still first in the league. So we're doing well, other than the one week that we had on the special teams against the Ravens. But special teams, for the most part, we played very solid, minus the penalties. Kicking game, great with Will Reichard. So there is definitely some bright spots with Miles Price and what he's been doing. We just have to figure out how not to have holding penalties in those special teams. I mean, even though we're first in the league, I mean, that could be we could have an even bigger lead than we currently have. So just something to take in consideration with these stats. PFF, it's a great tool out there. Another thing I want to make sure that I point out too, when we're taking a look at these two teams, is the big thing that's going to come into play here is health coming with these two teams coming into the game. We know that the Minnesota Vikings have potentially Jonathan Gennard coming back yet this week. So he got some playing time. And then Ryan Kelly, he will not be on the injury report with any kind of injury designation, which is a great thing. So for the first time this entire season, we now will be at full strength with our offensive line and should have all 5 starters playing and starting in this game, which is huge for the Vikings. And this is maybe the first game that we've had where we've been the healthier team coming into a game. Now the Packers on the other side, they will be without wide receiver Jaden Reed. They'll be without cornerback Nate Hobbs, and doubtful to play is Quay Walker. We don't know if Josh Jacobs, who's was injured last week, is going to play in this game. I'm really surprised that he's even questionable. If not, we're looking at Wilson maybe having the bulk of the carries for them. Matthew Golden is also questionable. Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, Lucas Van Ness, and Carl Brooks. So we'll see what that looks like as far as getting closer to the game, whether or not any of those names will actually be playing on the field that are questionable. Now, with health in the game and health on our side, I think that's really exciting. That we're getting healthier, but we just need better play. And getting healthy, and now with everyone health, Coach Jones, when people aren't healthy in that room, now everyone in the season, especially when you're getting towards the late part of the season, everyone's dealing with some kind of nagging issue, right?
Right. Yeah, you get this late in the season, just about everybody's got something nagging, something bothering them. They're taking some days off of practice. A lot of vet days where guys are sitting out of practice because they're trying to get them ready for game day. But this is this that time of the year that some of that stuff is happening. Some of those backups are gonna have a little bigger role because of that.
Absolutely. We got a comment. Greg Maddock says, "Hello, gentlemen." Hello to you, Greg. He's on YouTube, following and listening in. Appreciate that. If you have any questions, again, send them on X, YouTube, or Facebook. Jake Hans, and I know you're talking about a different show, our fantasy football show on Fantasy 15. He says, "Hey, Steve, I did the trade we talked about a week ago, won last week by 30 against the top team in my league. I'm glad to hear that. So the advice paid off for you. I appreciate you listening." Greg says J Mac needs to learn to float some passes. What does he need to learn to do that? We're going to actually talk about that a little bit. So great question, Greg. We're going to get into that actually right now. So one of the things that we had this week was you had Coach O'Connell, and let me get rid of that ticker for a second. And I know this is probably hard to read, but the big thing that he was saying, I'll read it to you, those of you that are watching online, was we're all just looking for continued evidence of the growth that he can take. Some of the things that he's working very hard on the practice field, to make the phrase I've been using with him, we got to start seeing the cement dry on some of the things we've worked really hard to make football habits for him from a fundamentals and technique standpoint. I think something Viking fans can look for is when he gets to the top of his drops, we are really trying to see if we can get him into a little bit more of a repeatable body position. And what I mean by that is the posture of a firm but athletic kind of lower half. We don't really like when his feet get too far outside the framework to his lower body. Now, the next video that I'm going to show you is actually on on NFL Live, and this was Dan Orlovsky kind of breaking down some of the mechanics, what he sees with JJ McCarthy.
35 quarterbacks who have started 5 games this season. McCarthy ranks last in total QBR, completion percentage, and touchdown to interception ratio. McCarthy will look to turn things around starting Sunday at Lambeau Field. That's a tough environment to try to turn things around. New on NFL Live, here's his head coach, Kevin O'Connell, today.
The phrase I've been using with him, we got to start seeing this cement dry on some of the things that we've really worked hard to make football habits for him from a fundamentals and technique standpoint. I think something Vikings fans can look for is, when he gets to the top of his drops, we're really trying to see if we can get him to be a little bit more in a repeatable body position. And what I mean by that is the posture of, a firm but athletic kind of lower half. We don't really like when his feet get too far outside the framework of his body. And that happened a couple times the other day that contributed to maybe some of the accuracy. His feet got a little bit wide.
Okay, so if people were watching Monday, you heard Dan say, I'm trying to figure out why he's inaccurate. Yeah. And as soon as you said that, I knew you'd figure it out. Yeah. You have, so go ahead.
Yeah, and it's the cause and effect. And so the effect is missed throws that happen directly after a great throw, and you're trying to see why. So I want everyone at home to pay attention to, you're just going to see the initial part that's going to be the missed throw. See where the throw is in relation to where the receiver is. In the NFL world, that's an egregious miss. Okay, so now let's focus on JJ when he gets to that top and that body posture. Okay, so a couple things stand out to me. You heard Kevin O'Connell say his feet outside the framework of his body. So JJ's not this 6'5" guy. He's only about 6'1". His step right here on this throw is so wide, it's almost like for me in a 6'5" frame. Peyton Manning was notorious on trying to have a 6-foot step, no matter if it's a 5-yard, 15-yard, 20-yard throw. So it's really important for JJ McCarthy. Bring that back, guys, because I want to talk about that body position for JJ McCarthy when it comes to like that ball out of his hands throw. He's getting far too wide. All right, play it. Far too wide with his base. I think the second thing is you don't see JJ be very much of a rotational thrower. This is going to be the ball down the sideline to Hawkinson. Another egregious miss. This is going to be the best angle for us to talk about it, okay? One, you're going to see that. Look how wide his base is. See how wide his base is now? That's because he's a linear thrower. It's almost like he's a swayer in golfing. Look at his right leg. His right leg is perfectly straight. Accuracy comes from the ground up. So because he's taking such a wide step, he's leaning so forward that his right leg is straightening. The second thing is, so often his shoulders are completely flat. You saw that first clip, that's ball down the field. This ball's a little bit down. I need to have your left shoulder tilted up a little bit because I want to have a little air under the football. The last part is you see consistently his back leg, when he makes the throw, it comes up like this. That tells me that you're a vertical thrower, you're not rotational. And what happens is you'll see his left shoulder get so far flung open, he's throwing the ball like this. And so these are mechanical things that are starting from the ground. That's where the flaw is first, is they got to get his feet consistently closer together. The second thing is they got to get him to, at his hips, rotate more, because right now his legs don't rotate, his hips don't rotate, and his upper body does. So that's why you're getting these occasional kind of egregious misses. You could play it and see how his left arm flings open. See, his left shoulder is consistently behind the right shoulder rather than pointing towards his target and staying tight. And so I know it's discouraging. I understand it. Like, it's concerning. I'm a little bit more encouraged because I think those are correctable things.
Yeah. And you let it go, but he's waiting to see him first. Here's another one on the interception where he's like stepping up unnecessarily.
And he steps up and he's pointing to the left.
Exactly. Here's another one on the double move to where you got to let that thing go, but he's waiting too long. He's hitching, and then it's a short pass. So for JJ, I think it's a rhythm thing. The thing that you talked about in college that I've said since JJ has come into the league, he plays best when the stakes are high. And even if you look at this season,
intangibles.
He gets down to a certain point and then you see him click. And that's what gives me encouragement to say, okay, you can fix this as long as he relies on a foundation that guides him throughout the process.
All right, so that was Dan Orlovsky and NFL Live kind of breaking down some of his mechanics. And Coach, I don't know if you have much to add to quarterback mechanics, but we're going to kind of break
Yeah.
down some of those things that you were talking about that you wanted to bring up for the show. And before I do that, let me just remove a couple things on here. I
Well,
want
you
to
know,
make
like
sure
I was a high school quarterback.
I, you know, if you got some, different
I'll tell you
level.
what, I didn't do it at the same level as those guys, though.
Absolutely. So we're gonna talk about some breakdown film. One of the things that we're gonna talk about with Coach's film breakdown is JJ McCarthy, his decision making and accuracy. We're gonna talk about some of the wide receiver drops that we had last week versus Chicago. Those defensive Minnesota defense create negative plays and then pressure the quarterback to make him uncomfortable. So these are some of the four things, Coach, that you identified. Now some of the film that we'll go over will kind of hop to some different places as I was editing some things, but we'll go over some of that. And let me just bring up that video and we'll break that down. Sorry, just pulling it up here. All right. So on this first play, that's the safety that we were looking at that ends up getting this interception on the play.
Yeah, you get 3 under 3 deep coverage, and I mean, kudos to the safety. He does a really good job of reading the quarterback's intent, meaning he's reading McCarthy's shoulder and sees he's got high shoulder, so he goes and drops back into that window. But for McCarthy, he should see how tight the coverage is initially anyway. And at some point, when you start getting this much pressure, at times you got to take a sack. People don't like it, but you can't put the ball in harm's way. I think he forces that ball into a tight window because he's feeling that pressure in the pocket, and you see him make a error. You see him make a big play that Chicago was able to capitalize on.
Absolutely. So here's that play in reverse as you're going to see him from just a different angle. There's that safety. As JJ's looking at this, I just think he doesn't see the safety come back on this play.
Right.
He thinks it's open, and I think it's just a good move by that safety.
hmm Yeah, and again, I mean, you know, it, great job by the safety. Like, I'm not going to say that that's all McCarthy, but he's got to feel that, especially when that
Sure.
pressure's in the pocket. Like Orlovsky was saying, feet not in the right place to make that throw. I mean,
Mhm.
he's throwing that ball under duress. That's a tough throw to make.
Okay, and on this next play, we're taking a look at this corner up on the top,
Yep. So you
and
get
this
the
is
double move,
mhm,
right? You get the double move here. The ball's just late. And again, when you look at it from the end zone copy, kind of the same thing that Orlovsky was talking about is you see the footwork isn't there. He's not getting much power. That ball is actually underthrown. If he throws it a little bit sooner, you'd like to see him throw it to that back pylon and give the receiver a chance to make it. But he throws it late, he finds it late, and then it's underthrown. It gives the DB a chance to get back in the phase and make a play on it.
absolutely. So this is one of the things I highlighted here in that circle area in that bottom right corner.
hmm
That's where JJ should have been throwing the ball, like you said, to that back pylon. Instead, it's an underthrown pass, and of course, the corner Nashawn Wright is able to make a good play on the ball. If it's not underthrown, Addison's got that. All right,
Right.
so
Or at
here's
the
the
very least,
JJ's
at the very
accuracy.
least, it's incomplete. You know.
Absolutely. So here comes another example with JJ's accuracy.
Yep. So this is the first play that he pointed out here. Just the ball egregiously underthrown. And again, I'm no quarterback. I don't coach quarterbacks, but with what he was saying is just the footwork, the shoulder, obviously low shoulder, high shoulder, if you want to get more loft on that ball to get it there. But I think if he gets these things tailored, if he gets some of those mechanics tailored, he's got a chance to be good. I mean, he's shown where he can be very good.
Absolutely. And on this play, one of the things I wanted to show, he's got a clean pocket. our offensive line did a great job in making sure that, for the most part, he stayed clean. Yes, he took a couple
Mhm.
shots, but there was no sacks on the day. And on this play, you can see he's got the corner turned and he's got it on the break. He's got his wide receiver wide open. He's got a clean pocket. It's all in the mechanics. And I think some of it, I mentioned it in my article on Substack too. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think JJ throws too hard at times. And I'll talk
Mhm.
about this later in the video too, where, he throws that fastball, but if he has more touch, kind of like Greg, who's on YouTube brought up, if he had more touch on his ball, I think it's a more catchable ball. And I think it also
Mm.
gives the wide receiver maybe that split second to adjust his body to maybe make the catch as well too, if it's not right where it needs to be.
Mhm. I think it's a mixture of a few different things. Like, I think number one, it is he's rushing throws, and I think he's partly rushing throws because he didn't take any sacks last week, but he is getting pressured. He is
Hmm.
getting some of his alignment basically thrown into his lap at times. And so it's almost like he doesn't feel comfortable enough to sit there and let it develop and get his footwork right to be able to make those throws when they're wide open like that.
Sure. Now, we had run game success last week, and I did like the fact that we did stick with the run game a lot of the time, and you can see we're opening holes. Our offensive line was doing a good job, but here I want to highlight JJ McCarthy with the RPO and making good decisions. What you're going to see on this play is JJ McCarthy's going to hold that edge in place for at least a split second long enough that allows Aaron Jones to make a good run on this play. So there's the edge right there. He sees the RPO. He stays with JJ McCarthy just long enough to where Aaron Jones that opens up that hole to where he's able to get a good gain off of that. But here we talk about the touch versus the fastball. So this is what I wanted to touch on. So here's JJ. Instead of adding touch to this ball, it's a fastball. He doesn't need it. He's wide open. Lays that fastball, and it results in an overthrow.
You could see the visible frustration in the receivers too between Justin Jefferson and Addison, which obviously Addison had some really big drops last week, but you could see some of the visible frustration from those guys.
Yeah, so on this play, keep an eye on JJ's right leg here, kind of like what Orlovsky was talking about, where he's not keeping his shoulder towards, where he's aiming with and through the throw, he's kind of flying open with his shoulders, and you're going to see that with his right leg as it comes around, like a pitcher would. I was a pitcher in college, I'm very familiar with this action, and that's what he's doing is he's flinging that leg around. There's that leg. And you guys see that just fly around. Now he takes one hell of a shot on that play too, which was maybe borderline close to getting a flag as well. But um, wasn't called. He takes a great shot on that one. So coach, you wanted to talk about Minnesota defense creating negative plays. And
Yeah,
this is a highlight one of them, and this is actually I'm highlighting that player for you.
yeah. So I mean, I think for their success defensively, number one, you got to get Green Bay off schedule. You got to make some negative plays on early downs to get them into second and long, third and long situations. And I mean that's any team, but Green Bay this year offensively has shown they've struggled offensively, especially getting into backed up situations. So it's important that they got to stop the run on early downs. They got to stop the early plays on early downs, and be able to get some negative plays, put them in second and 10, second and 11, get them to third and long situations and make yourself
Mhm.
let Flores be a little more aggressive in some of his play calling on third downs.
Now, this is a cornerback blitz with Byron Murphy Jr.
Mhm.
coming in on this right side, top right of your screen. Now, is this as textbook as it gets as far as run defense goes and coming off the edge for a corner?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You get the down block there. You beat the puller to go make a play. I mean, corners don't get opportunities to do this very often.
Hmm.
And so when you get your opportunity, coaches aren't calling corner blitzes a whole lot. when you get your opportunity, you got to take advantage of it because you don't know if you're going to get that call again. But that's a really good play by Byron Murphy right there.
Okay. So the next play, we're talking pressure the quarterback, turning pressures into sacks. So this is the most frustrating thing I think we've been seeing all season is that we've had opportunities where we've pressured the quarterback, we've got our hands on the quarterback, and we just can't complete the play. We can't finish it. And this is just another example. And there's at least a couple of these in this video where Caleb Williams just becomes slippery, and it seems like when we get hands on him, we're tackling him high instead of low. And as a defensive coach, how do you, you know, you know, there's some of the ticky tack fouls now that you have as far as touching with the
Right.
quarterback, but
Right.
how do you guys teach defensive players to go at a quarterback?
It's a little bit different when you're back there, especially when you talk about D linemen and linebackers on pressures. A lot of times that tackle's not going to be the same as trying to make a tackle in the open field, and so it's really get there and wrap and squeeze. And if you don't get them down, at least give your teammates time to get there,
Mhm.
And I think that's where they've been struggling. And you've got a slippery quarterback in Caleb Williams. You're gonna have another slippery quarterback in Jordan Love this week. I mean, you got to do a really good job. And when I get there, I've got to make sure that I'm squeezing and I'm holding tight. If I don't get them down, give my teammates time to get there.
So you're going to see Caleb Williams. He escapes, and now he's got a second chance play. And now wide
Hmm.
receivers are running second routes, and that's when things can get dangerous.
Right.
And it's hard for a cornerback to cover really good receivers that long. And here's Eric Wilson.
Yeah.
He's that main defender on the play, the linebacker coming up the middle that gets his hands right on Caleb. Caleb's able to kind of slip away, and I don't know if that's just I'd like to see him drive through the tackle,
Yeah.
whether that be dive at him or go high at him, go at his waist. Okay, I forget what. Okay, yeah, I remember this play now. All right, so this one could have really hurt us to Roma Dunze here. This is a long shot play, and the interesting thing for this play is look at this wide pocket, no pressure. We get lucky on this one. We absolutely do. Now, for the corner, you got Isaiah Rogers
Mhm.
that's on this play with Rome Odunze. I mean, is there any more that you can do? Can you cover him any better than what he was?
Run it one more time for me,
Yeah,
Hoyt.
yeah, yeah.
Let me take a look at him again. Um, if you can from that wide copy.
Rome is
He can run.
he
Rome.
can. Do you want to go a
Rome.
little bit farther
Yeah,
back?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right there. Yeah. Go ahead,
So
let it play. I think he does a really good job, actually. I think he does about as good as he can do right here, honestly. Because what happens is at the top of that route, you see him kind of take a little bit of speed off of him. He gets
mhm.
hands on him and is able to widen them. And really, I think that little collision at the top to take some speed off of him is really what makes Rome a little short on his throw. Right.
So it's not that Caleb Williams missed him. That little bump threw him off schedule.
Yeah, yeah, that
Okay.
that little collision by Isaiah was really good there to take that speed off of him.
Excellent. See, this is the kind of stuff that we get from you. That as the casual fans that are watching stuff right now, and even myself, picking up some stuff and learning from you, Coach. That's great
Nah,
stuff.
man.
So
Any way I can help, man.
here's some more good running lanes from the offensive line. The Vikings were able to do this throughout the game. And here's Jordan Mason on this play. And you're going to see this offensive line just doing a great job in creating a running lane for a good game. We're able to do this consistently with our offensive line, and now we're fully healthy. We're fully healthy. So there should be an expectation that we're able to move the ball. We're able to provide clean pockets. Now we're going against a better defense this week than what we were. So I just want to rewind this just a little bit on this play. So one of the things that I want to stop this for is right here. So on this rollout, what I'd like to see from JJ, and no, that circle's not in the right spot. What I'm trying to show you is all that open space. for the tight end. On this play, when the defender's right there, what I'd like to see is JJ get rid of the ball right now. But he seems to almost hesitant to get rid of the ball. And what happens is that defender in the left corner, he has time to react to then defend that play, and then now the receiver doesn't have an opportunity to catch and run and maybe make a move, stiff arm, whatever it may be. And that's where I'd like to just see JJ react a little bit quicker and get the ball out so his receiver can actually do something with the ball instead of a 2-3 yard gain.
Right. Yeah, most of the time when you see this type of this boot action, when they
Mhm.
see that end come off quick, they usually dump it off into the flat pretty quick. I don't know if maybe from his vantage point, he felt like he didn't have a clear enough throw. Obviously when we look at it from this standpoint, it's a little bit different, but you definitely like to see him get it out a little quicker.
Now this next one was something that was frustrating. Yes, JJ, it's got to be more accurate, but there were several, at least 5 official. I think I even heard that there was a 6th one as well. But 5 official that I saw in the Bears game of just our wide receivers dropping passes from JJ. So we're not helping them when we have hey, if we have a couple during the game. Maybe not the biggest thing, but we dropped some big ones in this
Yeah.
game. And this is definitely one of them that we're going to show you from Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I mean, we could say all we want. JJ McCarthy has to do some things better with his mechanics and whatnot, and making better decisions in the pass game. But you can see he's making good decisions and he's hitting receivers in their hands. And there's a couple drops, especially from Jordan Addison. He had, I think, 3 that I saw, 2 or 3 that I
Mhm.
saw. Hawkinson had a huge one that he dropped. I mean, it's just those things they got to do. They got to catch the ball and help him. Give him his
Right.
confidence and make him feel comfortable throwing it.
And again, depending on where he's at in his read, watching JJ's footwork here, and I think it's right here. This is, another point where I'd like to see JJ get rid of the ball quicker when he sees that open receiver. Look at all that green grass that's in front of Jordan Addison up there in the top left. He's beaten his defender. He's now going to have that open lane. I'd like to just see him hit him right there. That way he can catch it and run it instead of throwing something where it's now a contested pass where you almost have 2 defenders where Addison has to, contend with to actually make that reception.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on there. The throw is still great. Like I mean, in that situation, I don't know that he could have made a better throw. To be honest with you, I think that Addison's got to make that catch one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean it's right there, and that's just the still frame I had. It actually is right there with his hands. If it
Hmm.
goes a little bit quick, a little bit sooner where I stop it, but I mean he had the opportunity to make that catch, and you see that there. Okay, now on this play with JJ McCarthy. Okay, yep. So this was
Yeah.
the Aaron Jones play, and this may be my purple glasses on, but I feel like he was held on that play. As a cornerbacks coach, you might have a different feel on that, but
I I didn't see a hole, but I also didn't look for one. If
sure.
that's if I'm being honest, what I will say is number one, you like to see Aaron Jones come down with that ball. It's tough. It's a one hander, but
Mhm.
the other part is it goes back to the decision making for JJ McCarthy. If you look at that clip, if he reads it, and I know what he's seeing. He's seeing a mugged linebacker.
Yeah,
You got the wheel route by the backer or by the back. So you're hoping that maybe that backer gets picked. He can get a step on him. But that
sure.
under route, that shallow route's wide open, coming back across the field the opposite direction. He hits him. He's walking in for 6.
Yeah, and I think JJ actually put it where he should have put it. And what I mean by that, defenders, grabbing him a little bit with 2 hands there,
Right.
and that throws him off schedule as
Hmm.
far as where he should have been. And I think if not, I think it's right there for Aaron Jones instead
Yeah.
of
No,
one hand.
that was
He's
a
got
great
both
ball.
hands on it.
Yeah, that was a
It,
great ball.
absolutely. So if there's fans out there, that last Sunday you saw that play and you think that JJ overthrew him, he didn't. He threw it right where he should have put it. I think the defender, again, whether it's a hold or knocking him off schedule, that's where Aaron Jones would have or should have been. Okay, on this next play with JJ McCarthy, and I think I got something. Yep, there we go. So one of the things I want to show you here is, and Coach, you can talk through this with the cornerbacks here. So we have Addison. He's the primary. He's wide open. He's beat his defender at this point. But he's going to end up underthrowing him. Now, he also has a second option underneath. Justin Jefferson is actually wide open as well, too, who has also beat his defender, who's coming across the middle on this. So he's got two different players that are open, but you're going to see that he gets pressured and he's not able to actually throw. And this is one of the things like Dan Orlovsky and the crew on NFL Live, we're talking about him underthrowing them. Sure, we can say he underthrew him, but I'm going to show you that, he got pressured and he wasn't able to step into this throw.
Yeah, he took a hit, but I think part of that too is he waited too long to throw it. I think right now the best quarterbacks, the ones that we've all seen, the GOAT, Tom Brady, the Peyton Mannings, as soon as that receiver comes out of that break, the ball is out. It's almost like McCarthy's waiting to see if he's going to create that separation to make a decision whether he's going to throw it or not.
Absolutely.
And that's what's getting them into trouble. You only have so much time in the pocket as a quarterback in the NFL. So I think he's got to do a better job of just trusting that route's going to be there. Put the ball where it's supposed to be. Because right here, this is walking in for 6.
Absolutely. So let's run through that play. Oh boy. Let me just find that spot again here. Sorry about that. I gotta find where it was at here.
I think it's the next play. After this one. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Okay. We'll play this one through.
Right now, throw it.
Yeah.
The ball should be out.
And if he hits this throw and he doesn't get pressured, that's a touchdown.
Right.
And you're going to see this offensive lineman is going to be pushed right into JJ McCarthy right here. So watch this. Right as he's about to step up, what's going to happen is he's going to hit right on his helmet, releasing that ball. Boom. A defender pushes him right into JJ McCarthy.
Right.
Which great job by the defender.
Of course. But you see how long it took him to throw it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so on this next play, again, this ends up being an overthrow by JJ McCarthy. And the frustration again is, Justin Jefferson, these wide receivers are getting some separation and they're finding gaps, especially in the zone. And you're not connecting with them.
Yeah. That's a dangerous throw. That is a dangerous throw. 5 defenders around. That's tough on a receiver. And I know everybody say the receiver's got to catch the ball. He gets paid a lot of money. There's a reason I didn't play receiver, Hoyk. I wasn't about to do that.
Made a money decision, a life decision, right? Career
had
decision.
to. Absolutely.
Yeah, don't put your receivers in that. You saw 4 different defenders that, just ready to smash him if he catches that ball.
They are hoping he catches that ball.
Mm-hmm. So here's another play where the Minnesota Vikings, this is going to be a run play to the right, and this is going to be another really great play that we've been playing better in the run defense. So we have been showing that we're able to stop the run a little bit, and we do a great job on this play. And again, defenders staying in their lanes, staying sound in their gaps. And Manungai coming off the right side, got nowhere to go. Everybody stays disciplined in their gaps. Eric Wilson, great job. Now, here we go again. Wrap up and finish the tackle. And Coach, this is the frustration that Vikings fans have had. And we watch this, and we've seen this in many games, especially with the 2 games that we faced Caleb Williams, where we just I don't know if we need some stickum on our gloves, or what it is, but it seems like even Jared Goff has been slippery for us to be able to tackle some of these quarterbacks. But here's another play where we give, again, now he doesn't capitalize, but we give Caleb Williams another opportunity because we don't finish the play. We dive, we miss. Now, it could have been bad. It didn't, but it could have been.
Right.
All right, on this play, this is the go-ahead. This is JJ's go-ahead touchdown pass to Addison. And, even though this ended up in a touchdown, and Coach, you can correct me if I'm wrong, kind of like what we talked about earlier, he waited too long on this play, I think, and this could have been bad for us. You're going to see where JJ actually, he does a good thing where he stays sound with his eyes and his body to really take the corners off of and keep the safety where he should be. He gets the corner turned around, and that's where he should be firing the ball. But he gives an opportunity with a little bit of hesitation, and that corner almost gets to where he makes a play on the ball.
Yeah, at that point, he's got to see that he's got the outside. He can throw it a little bit sooner. He puts the ball in the right spot, though. I think going back shoulder, that was a good ball to give the receiver the best chance.
A good ball, but late.
Yeah, a little bit late. He could have thrown it a half a second a little bit sooner.
So initially, he's keeping, so he doesn't have his body turned to where he's going, and I think that's good. So, but once he turns, you're gonna see it, like a little bit of hesitation. It should have been gone.
Yeah, once he saw that corner squeeze that inside route, he should have went ahead and took his eyes outside.
Okay, and this is just another almost sack that we had in the game. We get our hands right on Caleb Williams. I mean, we go high on him. He's able to just duck, and we've seen that so many times. We saw Jared Goff do that to us.
He's a big dude, man.
He is.
He's a big dude. He's tough to bring down.
And that's what I'm just saying, like, why not wrap up on the waist? Why are we trying to tackle high by the shoulders, on this guy? So, you're going to see it right here. We went high instead of, get him right on the waist. Mike, good?
Yeah, my light went out.
Oh,
and I guess I can't charge my light while I use it.
Oh, you're good on our end. Oh, that's much better. I see what you're saying now.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Minnesota's D. Pressure on Caleb Williams. We force him for an early throw and miss. This is where I think we need to do a lot of this against Jordan Love this week. Being able to pressure the quarterback, and we found success in doing this, and we were actually getting to Caleb Williams. We just, we weren't able to complete a lot of this. And you see that he just has to chuck and get rid of the ball.
Right.
So having success in that is going to be a huge key.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can put pressure on the quarterback, even if it's not a sack, QB pressures are just as important, because now you rush his throws. He doesn't get to go through his entire reads. And then, like you've seen McCarthy get uncomfortable in the pocket because you get that pressure. You don't feel comfortable enough to stand there. So they can continue to do that, then you'll have some success.
Absolutely. Got rid of the wrong one. All right, so that was our game film breakdown with Coach Jones, and like you said, pressures are just as important. Nobody gets a pressures award at the end of the year,
right?
And you don't see that. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing some of our defensive players get pressures and get to the quarterback. And this is one of the graphics that I sent out earlier this week in our top pass rush PFF grades. Jason Hargrave, 62.2, Eric Wilson, 61.4. These are just PFF grades. But the big takeaway here was Dallas Turner actually had the higher win rate. He had a 16 plus percent win rate in this game, followed by Javon Hargrave with like a 13.3% win rate. And what that means is they're winning their matchup on those pass plays and creating pressure on the quarterback. So that's an important thing, I think, as my armchair quarterback. What that tells me is Dallas Turner and Javon Hargrave are winning their matchups and at least creating havoc on that opposing offensive line and creating pressure on the quarterback.
Right.
So that's what you can take from those stats, or at least that's what I take from those stats that PAFF does provide.
Yeah.
So now when we take a look at the different matchups that we have coming up this week, as far as who it favors, there's different ways that we can take a look at this, and we're going to take a look at the Minnesota Vikings first, as far as which different matchups favor the Vikings or the Packers. For JJ McCarthy facing off against the Green Bay Packers, obviously this is a very tough matchup to face the Packers in, and they are top 5 in not only rush defense but also pass defense and pass coverage. So this is a very tough defense for us to be an away team at, and for JJ McCarthy facing the Green Bay Packers in this game. Yes, they have a few injuries coming into this game. You're not going to see Nate Hobbs, but they're still a really tough defensive team, not only on the run defense piece, but also in pass coverage. So that's where I think JJ McCarthy does not have the advantage in this. Now, when you did your internship with the Packers, were you working with any of the Packer players at all?
Oh yeah. When I was out at practice, I was in every meeting. Yeah, I got to be around everything.
Who stood out to you on the Packers defense? I guess who are maybe one or two key players that stood out defensively to you?
Man, I'll tell you, um, the two inside linebackers, Quay and Edrin Cooper, definitely stood out. And then Xavier McKinney, and I
Mhm.
really like Evan Williams. And I think he's he's the guy that I talk to the DB's coach periodically, and I told him, he's not very flashy, but I like his game.
Now, McKinney, he plays free safety. He
Right.
is, at least PFF, he's the 9th best safety in the league at the free safety position. So he's
Yep.
been playing well this season.
Right.
And then who was the other one that you said that stood out to you?
Evan Williams,
Evan
33.
Williams. Yeah.
Yep.
So at strong safety,
Yep.
also, at least, and again, these are PFF stats. So, but he's sitting in the top half at the 21st ranked safety as well, out of 93. So they have two really good safeties on their back end, and they are playing really well
Hmm.
throughout this year. That you saw that they've had a lot of low scoring games for opposing offenses that have played them. We we saw the very exciting Eagles and Packers game where it was 0-0 at halftime. So there's two
Right.
ways to take that. Yes, they were facing the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a tough defense, but we also played them. We were able to have some success too. So we know that they're struggling a little bit on offense, but they are a pretty sound defensive team.
Yeah.
Taking a look at Justin Jefferson. Now, again, they have a good secondary. There's no secondary that I'm going to say that Justin Jefferson isn't going to be able to get open on. I feel the same way with Jordan Addison. In this league, I don't know if these two individuals are really going to be uh, not favored in a matchup. Jordan Addison has the ability and shown the ability this year to possibly even be somebody's one, even though I hope he remains here after this season as our number 2 wide receiver. But that matchup between the two, the wide receivers and the secondary, um, how do you see that matchup? Am I right in thinking that way, or does that secondary
Yeah.
just able to bottle them up?
No, I think you're absolutely right, man. I think it's hard to go against Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's the best receiver in the game, when he's on. And then you've got a complimentary Jordan Addison. Now, I think the kicker is, like you already talked about, is JJ McCarthy. And how does Green Bay's defense get after him? I mean, you've got Rashawn Gary, you've got Micah Parsons. I mean, you've got a defensive front that is probably on paper the best defensive front as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now they may not have shown it necessarily in sacks, but they're another team that when Micah Parsons on the field, it's just a different dynamic because you know what he adds and you know what he can do from different positions. And so that's going to put a little bit of onus on that offensive line and on JJ McCarthy, just knowing who's on the other side of the ball. Um, I think the defensive backfield as a whole, I know a lot of people will say that they're probably I don't want to say worse because that's a bad word, but they're not the best group on the defensive field for Green Bay. It's the D line, it's the linebackers, and then more so at corners. I think people have question marks about the corners. Now, I will say Carrington Valentine has been playing very good in place of Nate Hobbs. He's been playing really well. I mean, he's had to line up against Jamar Chase. He had made some great plays last week. And so you've seen him step up into a bigger role. But again, it's hard to go against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, just knowing what they can do offensively, knowing what they can bring to the table.
Now, McDuffie and Cooper are one of the better linebackers in the league. And even though, you know, Micah Parsons, his strongest suit probably isn't run defense, you have a really good linebacking core that's supporting Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons behind
Mhm.
that defensive line front. Now there's a couple ways to look at this. We finally have a healthy offensive line. Our offensive line has been playing very well when we've been sticking to the run game. I'm hoping we're able to have some success, but just I'm trying to not have my purple Kool-Aid glasses on, and just thinking that this defense, is one of the top five in the league in rush defense. I just think that matchup probably favors them, but I'm not saying we can't have success.
Yeah. Yeah. They're averaging, I think 93 yards rushing per game defensively. One of the top rush defenses in the
Hmm.
league. And like you said, it's because not only what they do up front, but those linebackers are downhill. They're fast, so they can get side to side very quickly, laterally on outside run plays. And they're erasers when it comes to plays like that. And then, of course, they add those safeties into the mix into the run game too, and both of them do a really good job, especially Evan, of getting into the box and getting into the mix. So you're gonna have a loaded box, I think, because I think it's gonna be a test of can we stop them from running? Can we stop
Hmm.
them from trying to run the ball?
And then with TJ, I just think that matchup favors the Packers, just how we've been using TJ thus far. And then at the same time, they do have a good linebacker core and a good secondary that's able to help covering with TJ Hawkinson. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers and what they have for their different matchups, we'll go ahead and take a look at how we match up against them as far as our Vikings defense against their offense. I think the matchup, Jordan Love at times, I feel like he's been doing this, and maybe right now that matchup maybe favors the Vikings instead of the Packers right now, especially with Tucker Kraft hurt, and you're not going to have Jaden Reed in this game. You may not have Matthew Golden in this game. We'll see. He's questionable as well. So I did go with, hey, the matchup favors Jordan Love, but you may not have Josh Jacobs as well.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking Emmanuel Wilson's probably the one that's taking a majority of the snaps. So yes, I favored Green Bay just because of the experience that Jordan Love has had. But I really think that could go either way. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I think it can go either way too. I would agree with that.
Emmanuel Wilson, again, he's not Josh Jacobs. And I think this is where been having success in multiple weeks in a row, whether that be Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, or whether it be last week with Swift and Monangai. I think we've been doing a lot better in the run game. I'm giving that to the Vikings with no Josh Jacobs. Obviously, if Josh Jacobs is in the game, that changes things. But with no Josh Jacobs, I'm going to say the Vikings. If Josh Jacobs is in there, I'm going to give that matchup to the Packers. Christian Watson, I'm gonna give that a tie. I mean, yes, he's had a 2 touchdown game. He's just coming back, and um, I'm an NDSU fan, but at the same time, Christian Watson, he's been hurt a lot. So he's showing streaks where he goes hot, and then streaks where he's cold or hurt. So that's kind of been what it is. We do have a couple good secondaries, and we do have some good secondary safeties out there with Harrison Smith. So Rogers, Murphy, we got some good secondaries out there that I think. The way that he plays in his game, we bend, we don't break. Where I think I would say that's probably a tie, maybe even more so favoring us in that aspect. With Romeo Dubs, I would say, I would say that favors the Packers. He's a really good route runner that, especially in zone coverage, he likes to find those spots. He likes to find those open gaps and sit in them. He does a really good job of doing that with running his routes. I don't know if you have any thoughts on those two wide receivers in those matchup favorings.
Yeah, just watching Christian, he was hurt. Hadn't didn't participate during the time that I was there, but just watching him, he's a vertical game receiver. I mean, he's a
Hmm.
guy that can take the top off. He's who Jordan Love wants to get the ball to downfield. Um, I think they've got to, in order to broaden what they do with him, they have to start utilizing him a little bit differently so they can open up those deep balls for him. Romeo has shown up because he's pretty much been the number one with Christian Watson out. Up until the point that he came back, and he's shown up. I mean, he like you said, I think he does a good job running routes, finding grass, getting into those windows and catching. And made some really tough catches in the first part of the season. So definitely think those two are capable receivers.
Absolutely. Matthew Golden, I really haven't seen him have a whole lot of success yet this year. I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability to do so. Again, he's more of a vertical game type wide receiver.
Yeah.
So again, with the way that in the style that the Vikings covered now, we've shown that we can be beat deep. But again, that's definitely not the norm with this defense in the style of play that we have. So I did give that matchup favoring the Vikings for that.
Yeah. I think they're still trying to figure out where Matthew Golden fits offensively. They're trying to get him the ball in space a little bit on reverses and screens and try to hit him on a deep ball. But I think LaFleur is still trying to figure out how he can fit him into that receiver room and how they can utilize him.
Absolutely. Now, I'd be remiss if I went any farther, as I already have, without mentioning our sponsors that we have. That's Badass Wood Art. Please make sure that you check out all the artwork that Luis is doing with That's Badass Wood Art. Please use code VC15 to get 15% off. And then don't forget SeatGeek. They are also partnered with us. When you use Vikes Central and use that code to get $20 off any $50 or more purchase, please go to SeatGeek for any Vikings games that you're going to, concerts or events. That code Vikes Central is good for all of them. And of course, Homage. They got great clothing and different items that you can wear. Go check out their site. You can use homage.sjv.io/Vikings, one of the ways that you can support us. And again, just check it out. They have great stuff that's out there. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. They're cool, comfortable, and they got something for everyone. Now we're getting kind of close towards the end where we're gonna kind of uh, go out to our keys of the game for this Sunday and what the Vikings need to do to win. I do have a question from Greg again on YouTube. He says, "Want to change levels? Why does it seem in college football DBs when covering receivers they do not turn their head, which in turn or do they not turn their head, which in turn causes the DB to get an interference penalty?" And I think what he means is, putting their hands up and getting the interference rather than looking back
Yeah,
and playing.
yeah.
You could say, "Hey, I'm playing the ball."
Greg, I'm gonna give you a quick answer because this question comes from a lot of people. There's two different things. You got what's called in phase and you got out of phase. So as a DB, if I'm in phase, that just means I can put my hands on the receiver, I can touch him, I can feel him. I don't have to reach to go touch him. At that point, I can look back for the ball. If I can't put my hand on the receiver, we call that out of phase. So at that point, I've got to play his hands. And the reason why is the quarterback's not throwing me the ball. So if I look back and I'm out of phase, that receiver creates more separation. I'm not going to make a play on that ball anyway. So that's why you see that. And sometimes what happens, a ball gets underthrown and a DB's too busy trying to chase. I don't want to say too busy. He's trying to chase and get back in the phase with that receiver. The receiver sees the ball coming, and because it's underthrown, now you run into him because you're trying to catch up and you can't react fast enough. So that's why that happens, and that's we teach that as DB coaches: in phase, out of phase, when to look back, when not to look back.
Absolutely. Greg also says thoughts on North Dakota State University Bison football team. All right, so I've been watching college football today as well too. Obviously, I'm watching my Bison, and hey, they're 12-0. They're going to be the number 1 seed here in the upcoming FCS playoffs. What can you say? They're doing what they do. So they're going to go on for another FCS championship, probably or hopefully, I would say as a fan. But Coach Jones, do you have any comments or any teams that you were watching this Sunday?
This Saturday, you mean today? College teams?
Yeah, this
Or you said,
Saturday. Yeah, any
um,
college football games you were watching?
I watched a bunch. I watched the Citadel today because obviously those
Yeah.
are my guys. This was their last
Yep.
game, so they lost there at the end, which was tough to see for them. I mean, we watched the USC Oregon. I'm a LA guy, so of course I was trying to pull for USC, but obviously we know how that went. Oregon's a good ball team, but I just sit around. I watch any game I can get a hold of, man. I especially try to watch some of the schools at places of coaches that I know, and try to support and see what they're doing. So.
Yeah, I mean, the state of Minnesota has had, some frustrating moments as far as the Timberwolves losing against the Suns when we're up by 8 with a minute left to play. We lose that game. And then, of course, you had the Gophers against Northwestern, and we ended up losing that game by a field goal today. So a tough one for the state of Minnesota. At least the Wild are playing well, right? So that's one thing to say. They got their win here the other night, I think 5-0. And then, hopefully the Vikings can hold some more weight and go into Lambeau Field and get a win. But we're going to get into the keys to the game and some of the things that I think the Vikings need to do in order to have success come Sunday. So with no further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into that as well. So the Minnesota Vikings versus themselves. And what I mean by that is really we've been shooting ourselves in the foot. As a football team, we've had our defense being able to keep us into football games where we've had an opportunity to win. So in order to win at Lambeau, we first need to face ourselves and be able to overcome some of those turnovers, some of those false start penalties that we've had. Just silly penalties that shoot ourselves in the foot. They kill drives, and being able to fix some of maybe even just those wide open passes that JJ McCarthy is missing right now. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about Minnesota. Really, it's one thing if the defense is doing something that affects your play and is making you not play well, but it's another thing, totally different when you're the reason why you're not doing well, just because you're not playing well. Not that the defense is doing something to make you not play well. JJ McCarthy, number 2 versus the Packers secondary. Something we talked about. They have a really good secondary. They're one of the top 5 in the league as far as pass defense goes. I think JJ McCarthy has to be more accurate, obviously, with the football. He has to be protecting the football better. We can't have 2, 3, interception games where, we're putting our defense in a bad spot constantly, or we have drive kills where they just feel like they're always on the field and they're getting worn down. They need rest. They need to be able to recharge and play well, um, against this Packers secondary. Number 3, the Vikings receivers versus the Packers secondary. So I think our Vikings receivers, as far as Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, they're going to be able to do their part to be able to get open versus the Packers secondary. I think for the most part, they're going to be able to do that. Again, we had drops last week. We had 5 drops. We need to do a better job to make sure that we're not having those drops and helping our young quarterback out. So we need to do our job, but it is a tough secondary. They're going to have their hands full, and I'm sure Justin Jefferson is going to get a lot of action as well. Number 4, the Vikings offensive line versus the Packers pass rush. The Vikings offensive line, they're finally healthy. We have Ryan Kelly back at center. That Packers pass rush is going to be coming off the edge with Rashawn Gary, and then of course we're going to have off the end. We're going to have Micah Parsons, and so they're definitely going to be fighting off the edge. But luckily, we got Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, so hopefully we can hold them at bay. They're going to be running a lot of different stunts, and I'm sure blitzing JJ McCarthy at times to try to throw him off schedule. Vikings defensive front getting pressure and then finishing, and kind of what we talked about, coach and I, as far as on that film. Getting pressure is one thing, and those are good things. But when we have the opportunity to sack, we need to finish versus Jordan Love and be able to wrap up on him and create that into a big negative play. Coach, those are my 5 keys to victory. Any thoughts that you have as far as maybe what I missed or anything to add to?
No, I think it's definitely it's an even matched game. I mean, when you look at it statistically, this is going to be a defensive battle. It's going to come down to Brian Flores and Jeff Halfley going after it. I think offensively, neither team has shown to be overly explosive, but they've made plays at times that they've needed to be able to stay in games. But I don't see this being a barn burner 40+ point game by each team. I think it's going to come down to whose defense is going to step up really, and who's going to have the ball last and be able to make a play and be able to score towards the end of the game.
Absolutely. Now, with this game, and I keep wanting to remove you for some reason. It's probably because you're wearing that green right now, and that's probably what's doing it for me. But now with this game, and yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I'm probably gonna have a prediction in here too. But Coach, what do you think? If you had to put a prediction on this game, how do you see it going?
Sorry, Vikings fans. I gotta go Green Bay. I'm going Green Bay by 3.
With
I think it's gonna come down to a last minute deal. I think by 3.
and with a border battle type matchup, it's bound to be close. I want to go with my heart, and my heart wants to say, hey, we're able to go into Lambeau and win. But if I'm going with my head, I'm kind of thinking the same page. 23-20 Packers. I'm hoping I'm wrong with that. I really want to see us go in there and get a win. My heart says that we flip that the other way, and it's actually 24-23 Vikings. That's what I want to say with my heart. But looking at that with the head, as far as how we've been playing, if we can't protect the ball and we're going to keep turning it over and we can't hit open receivers, it's going to be a long day against a really good defense that's better than the defense we saw last week. Now with that, again, we're getting towards the end of our show, so make sure that you're following us on X, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok as well, that we're shooting out those, but then also on our Substack. So, really, the article that I had and really the focus this week was the border battle. But can the Vikings defeat the Packers and themselves? And I think that's really the key coming in this week, because if we can defeat ourselves, I do think we can defeat the Packers. But go ahead and check out that article on our Substack. They're free to read. Great articles. I'm putting some blood, sweat, and tears into those to where probably a little bit of emotion as well too. But that helps kind of break down some of these keys to the game that I talked about also in that article. You can go ahead and search Vikings Central on our Substack and check those out as well. So again, Coach Jones, is there anything else that you want to put out? Obviously, we want to follow you on social media. And again, I just got them right up there on the screen. For those of you out there that want to follow Coach Jones on social media, anything else that you want to add, Coach?
No, man, I appreciate you having me again. This is awesome. This is fun. I enjoy doing it. And uh, for any guys that follow me and you got football questions and you want to ask football questions, I'm always happy to answer. So don't hesitate.
Thanks again, Coach. Love having you on. Hopefully we can do this again. Yeah, I mean, you've been great. And I think for those fans that are out there watching, when we do film breakdown, some of the things that you see that Coach mentions, those are the little things that we don't always see when we're watching it live on TV, or even if you have a subscription, you're watching all 32 and you're trying to watch it back. Just having that insight, especially from a professional coach that's coached at the college level and the professional level with the UFL and the San Antonio Brahmas. We get that for Coach Jones. So we're definitely spoiled to have you on today, Coach. And then also just one last thing, any update on what's going on with the UFL San Antonio Brahmas? I know you had talked about you didn't know where you guys were playing yet last year, but any update for any fans that are out there?
No updates yet. Still waiting to hear. Supposedly they're supposed to make some decisions or have some things put out by I think early December. So still kind of waiting, still kind of seeing what's going on. Don't know for sure yet if where we're gonna be, whether Columbus, Louisville, or Orlando. So just kind of up in the air.
Well, make sure that you keep us up to date as far as what's going on with the San Antonio Brahmas. I know that, once the season gets started, we'll be following you with some updates and shooting that out to our fans. And, who knows, maybe even having you on for an update on what you guys are doing as well.
Absolutely, love to do it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Coach. For Viking Central, I'm Steve, and that was Coach Josh Jones. Thanks again for joining us for the Viking Central pregame show. Remember, tomorrow after the Packers game, you can go ahead and join me for the postgame show. We'll hopefully be reviewing a Vikings win over the Packers at Lambeau Field. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the questions that we have, and make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Viking Central, go Vikings, Skol. Let's go get that win. Have a good night and a good day tomorrow.